Now see.
Forget it was a tough series. Both clubs riding each other, doing everything to get each other's goat.
A Time with Art.
Good morning and welcome to A Time with Art. Today on our program we have Cindy Davidson.
Good morning.
Who is well known in the Cedar City community, been here since 1979 when Ben Davidson came to be the trainer at SUU. And they hadn't had a trainer before, which is amazing. And so everything changed. I remember when Stan Jack was basketball coach, they would come into our room. I roomed with him, and the players would come in, and he'd tape them.
And he would tape them.
First practice and the games. And it was like, you know, he thought, when am I ever going to not have to do that? So then when Ben got there, he had another driver.
Had a driver and a person to do all the taping, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to Cindy about her life and history and some of the things she does. A lot of charitable work here in the area in Cedar City and Iron County. And so tell us a little bit about your growing up years.
Okay, I am from Las Vegas, born and raised, and my mom was even born and raised in Las Vegas. So our family has been there for quite a long time. I went to Catholic grade school, and I went to Bishop Gorman High School.
Oh, did you?
And then when I graduated in '69, I didn't want to go to UNLV. I was going to go at first to all-girls college in Denver.
Oh.
And I decided, I didn't think I wanted that. So my grandparents were in Cedar, and they called me, and I took the bus and came on up. And I fell in love with Cedar, and that was in 1969. And at that time, the girls were going to be living in Zelkova. And Zelkova was the old hospital.
Yeah,
and so we
right.
toured the old hospital. They had the old phone booth in there, you know, and everything. And there was a person there that told us where the girls' rooms were going to be.
Yeah.
And so by the time I got the letter acceptance and everything, we had moved to Juniper.
Okay.
And that year, Juniper became co-ed. So Wing A was girls, Wing B and C were boys. But they had to redo the bathrooms.
Oh,
because the bathrooms were suited for boys. So we had toilets, but we didn't have showers. So every morning there'd be a group of girls that would go down to B wing. They reserved the first floor B wing, the first bathroom for the girls. And of course, all the boys in B and C would hang over the balcony as we made our trek down the aisle with our towels and our bathrobes. So I came to school in '69. So Cedar was a really, really different town in 1969.
Oh yeah, there was.
It was just so fun. Nobody had cars. Everybody walked everywhere. You could go to the show for $1.25, and we did every week. You know,
true.
so it was a fun town to be in.
Yeah.
And that first year, we were quarters, and the enrollment was 1,500 students.
Yeah.
And then by spring, it had dropped down to 12 because either the kids went home to work on the farm, they went on missions, or they got married. So, yeah. So I was a PE major for the first quarter and decided that's not what I really wanted to do. So I trekked up the hill to Ada Carpenter and Bonnie Bishop and became a home ec girl.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, so it started in '69. So, and I met Ben, he lived in the dorm also, and then I met him at a friend was having a birthday party for him, and she said, hey, we're having a birthday party for Ben. And I said, who is he? She's, well, come and see who he is. So, and when we got married, she was at the wedding, and Ben said, you started all of this.
That's cool, yeah. And Ben was from Grand County, from Moab High
from
School.
Moab.
Yeah.
But you know, originally he was from Texas.
That's right. That's right.
The little town of Wilson. It wasn't even a town. It was a two-way place in the street, and they had a farm. They had a dairy farm, and his mom taught school, and then they moved to Moab. And so he graduated the year before I did in '68 and came here. He came on a scholarship from Dr. Lunt.
Oh.
you know. So, and then it was, he went to grad school in Terre Haute, Indiana. I stayed here and went to school.
And that's where he met Hal.
And that's where he met Hal. And you know all about Hal and all of Indiana and coaching and
Yeah.
everything.
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy. He
really
came this
good.
summer to see me.
Did he?
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, he did. And so his first job was at Weber State. And then my first teaching job was in White City in past Sandy. And I taught kindergarten there for the first year, and then I moved to Ogden, and we bought a home in Riverdale, and I taught in Roy, and he was at Weber State.
Weber State.
Yeah, and then it was Dr. Lunt that was instrumental in getting Ben to come to teach here. And Ben had only been the athletic trainer, nothing else. So when we came, he was teaching a full load. He was teaching kinesiology and staying one page ahead of the students. He was athletic trainer for every sport, and he was the girls' track coach for 2 years. And then he became the men's track coach.
Right.
So he wore many hats. In all those years, you guys roomed together, Art.
We did.
You guys saw more of each other than
79 till 92.
94,
Was it
93,
93?
93,
Yeah, right
I
in
think
there.
it was something like
When
that.
Ricky came,
When
and
Ricky
then Ben
came.
decided that he was going to go to that instead of having to
Do athletics.
do athletics, and the danger there was that, you know, you
Yeah.
might not continue.
Right.
So, yeah.
So,
So we were together for
Quite a
13,
few-
14 years.
quite a few years.
I remember you sent some cookies the day we left when we found out he wasn't going to be here anymore. And you said, well, Art, I guess you and Ben are getting a divorce.
Yes, we did. You thought Ben and I were getting the divorce. And I know the look on yours and
And I'm
Vicky's
going,
face
well,
was like, oh, no.
Hopefully you stay together, right?
Yeah, we still are together.
So what year was it when you got married?
76.
76.
So this year will be our 50th wedding anniversary.
Cool.
And I'm still going to celebrate, even though he's
Yeah,
not here.
I
I'm
know.
celebrating. Why not?
That was a sad day. I remember I was driving somewhere around campus, probably trying to find a parking place. And Ricky Mendini sent me a text, and it said, Ben Davidson passed away. And I go, what?
I know.
It was so crazy because he was one of the guys that I've known forever. He was probably in the best shape of anyone.
I know, and people say that to me quite often. They say, oh, there's no hope for me. If he would
I
die
know.
so healthy and active, then there's no hope for
Yeah.
me. So it was a shock for the
For
whole
everyone,
community.
yeah. And
It
so,
was.
So much for you.
It was, you know, and I remember the day that Sean Peterson came to tell me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, it was hard, but we've managed, and life goes on, and she's got a
And
nice.
you built a new home next to your home.
I did, and I tell people, our son Matthew moved back home probably about a year before Ben died. And so for 2 years it was Matthew and I and the dog, and I'm like, Matthew, I'm going to build a new house. And he would never believe me until I said one day, here's the plans, they're going to start next week. So I tell people that Matthew and I got a divorce, and he got the old house and the dog, and I got the new house. So we keep an eye on each other. The only thing
Yeah.
between us is the garden spots. So it's
So I know
good.
you had the twins.
Yep, we had the twins, and when we moved here, we still had a home in Ogden. So I stayed in Ogden trying to sell the house. And finally, at Thanksgiving, I told Ben, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm moving. So he bought we had a house that we rented, and so it was another year before our house sold in Ogden. And I would go to track practice and help every day with the timing of the girls. Dr. Lunt got mad at me for helping set up hurdles one day because he said, they're not supposed to be setting up hurdles. And the only person I think that remembers me being pregnant with twins and this great big belly was Eric Hool, because he was on the men's team and he was a junior. And he was so impressed that Ben was the young coach and that he could run with the girls, and he was always out there doing things with them. And so our twins were born May 27th. So now they're going to be 46 years old this year.
I know.
Where
that's
does
hard
that
to-
go?
Hard to believe. And then your young son, the one you were talking about, Matthew, he's the
Matthew.
one We announced on the
On
radio.
the radio.
I was broadcasting a game in New Orleans at the University of New Orleans, and Ben told me that you were pregnant with with another child.
With another child.
And so
And it
I
was-
still have the press thing that says the exact date on it from when we were there. Yeah.
And I'd always listen to the basketball and football games because I love to listen to Art, and in the intermission too, you know, the
Yeah.
halftime. And I remember that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sure Ben was just so embarrassed.
I interviewed him.
You were interviewing
and he's
him.
the one who broke the news.
He
you
bro-
know?
I know.
I did too, but he did.
He did on the radio, of course.
And
you
it's
know.
hard to believe that was that many years ago.
And Matthew will be 37 this year.
Oh, wow.
So that
Yeah.
was 37 years
And
ago.
we came very close to winning that game too that night. I remember that because I thought we were just kind of still starting out in Division
In
One.
Division One.
We
Okay.
had started with Neil Roberts, but the first 2 years he coached Division Two
Oh, okay.
with the SUU men. And
Okay.
then the next year we got the schedule for NCAA, and so that's where
That's
when Ben and I were on Miami Beach at midnight.
midnight.
after
We
a
were
game in Florida,
freezing in Cedar.
and it was 10 below in Cedar. And
And I called him.
Vicki called me and said, "You got to get home. It's so cold here. I'm afraid everything's going to freeze." And I
Well-
said, "It's 76 on the beach, and Ben and I are having an ice cream cone."
It was that cold, and we did have a frozen pipe, and my neighbor came to fix it. And I remember calling Ben and saying, "Where do I send the divorce papers?" Because you're always gone when it snows, and I have to shovel, or now I've got a frozen pipe, and oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, that was the year we had the marathon trip because
Yes.
we went to Chicago and played Chicago. They called it Chicago Circle then. And one of the others we played there, which is no longer in athletics, Northeastern Chicago or something in
yeah.
Chicago. And then we flew to Monroe, Louisiana, and played what were they called then? Louisiana.
Oh, I have no idea.
Now
You're
they're
the
just,
you're
now
the
they're
expert at
different
them.
because it's Louisiana Monroe, but they weren't. They were southwestern Louisiana, and we played them 3 times that year because it was hard to get a Division I schedule the first year.
The first year.
They came
yes.
here and we played twice, and we won both games, and then we went to Monroe and they won. So we were 2-1 against them.
Well, and I remember those long trips because Ben would have to have a suit and a jacket and a shirt and tie for all those games.
For the games,
And
yeah.
so we'd make a cheat sheet and we'd lay out the clothes on the bed and say, okay, number 1 day, this shirt, this tie, this pants. Okay, number 2, you can interchange them and everything, so that he had a cheat sheet when he went so that he knew
That's
what he
great,
was
yeah.
wearing.
I remember that, and he would say, "Okay, what am I supposed to wear today? Oh, here it is." So that was great, and that trip, we went somewhere else beside. We went.
Oh, I know
back
you were
to
gone
Chicago.
forever.
So we went from Chicago back to Chicago, and that's the year that Ben and I got tickets to go to Soldiers Field. The Bears and the
Bears
Kansas
were
City Chiefs
were playing.
and it was on Saturday, because the game we were going to play was on Sunday.
Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
trip.
and so
Yes.
that's one of the very first
And-
games we
and
ever played on Sunday.
Didn't it
in
rain?
basketball.
And you guys had
It was-
garbage cans,
We had to go
garbage
to Walmart
sacks?
or wherever it was. Maybe it was Kmart, and buy stuff to cover us, these plastics, and then we had to have a coat underneath. 'Cause, I mean, Chicago
It's cold.
in December was cold.
Cold, yeah.
And it was cold.
And wasn't it the Walter Scheid young man that was playing?
He had retired.
Oh, he
But
already.
it was
I thought.
Steve, the assistant coach at the Chicago Bears.
Oh,
then.
okay.
He was actually
Thought
coaching.
it was Lenny Walter Scheid that
He
you
coached
guys.
the quarterbacks, and we went to their hotel in downtown Chicago, just by Lake Michigan, and they let us up because we were going to see Steve, and his name escapes me. He's been gone so long, but he was a great guy, and he got us tickets. And then Harbaugh came into the room, the quarterback for the Bears.
quarterback for the Bears. Yeah,
playing
'cause
that
he was
next
telling-
year.
yeah.
And they were going over all the stuff, that he needed to know and memorize and remember, because they were playing the Chiefs. And anyway, it rained most of the game.
That's what he said. I
And it
remember
was
him saying that
freezing
you guys
cold,
had
and
rain and freezing
we
cold.
sat
and
by a couple of Kansas City Chiefs fans. I think they were cheerleaders too, but they weren't down on the field because it was freezing
cold.
So they sat behind us, and then we talked to them quite a bit, and they told us all kinds of fun stories about the Kansas City Chiefs.
City Chiefs.
And I guess they followed them around to all these different cities that they went to. But that was a lot of fun because going to Soldiers Field was amazing. Now they're trying to get the Bears to go to Indiana. So I don't know what's going to come
I
of
don't
that.
follow sports now that Ben said.
Yeah, but
You just don't
so
follow them.
we did
But
enjoy
there
it.
was lots of trips. I remember you came home one time and you had some players that were from Chicago.
Well,
And I think you and Ben and some of the players went to the worst section of.
he took us.
He went to the worst.
Allen was his last name. He said, Art and Ben, you're coming with me to go to Leon's Ribs.
Yes, and Ben was
The
like,
best in
"Will we
Chicago."
ever get home?"
Yeah, and so we went, and he said, don't ever come here,
On your own.
just you two,
Yes.
because it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
And
Told me about
Farrakhan's
that.
temple was right there. And I didn't remember that. And then Ricky and I were there in Chicago one day. We decided we were going to go find Leon's Ribs. We drove all over that east side of Chicago in the daytime.
In the daytime.
Yeah, and we never
And you
did
never
find
found it.
And then we were driving on 55, the freeway, I guess, going down to Western Illinois.
Uh-huh.
And I said, Ricky, look over there. There's Farrakhan's temple, and look what's right by it. Leon's
Ribs.
We go, maybe that's why we never saw it, because it was kind of sheltered from
Sheltered from that.
Yeah.
Lots of good trips you guys went on.
And we
Well-
were lucky we didn't have as many bad storms as we did when we were in the RMAC.
Oh, when you guys were in the RMAC, you guys went all over, and Ben drove.
He did.
And and get tickets on the Indian reservation coming home from
That was one of the first trips.
Flagstaff.
I drove a station wagon, Ben drove a
the
van, and McCracken was the coach then, and he drove a van.
Yes.
But he would leave us. I mean, he went so fast, and he was speeding across the reservation there.
I know, and you
and
guys
the reservation, the police pulled him over.
pulled him over.
And then we came up on it, and we didn't know what to do, so we stopped behind him, and the guy talked to us too, and he said, "You got to keep this guy from speeding so much, especially on the reservation."
I know. Ben came home with a ticket for
Yeah.
speeding too, and I told him, I says, you know, we were poor back then. My kids telling, and I said, we can't afford to have these tickets.
I
So
know.
I think McCracken went to court, and they got him.
I don't think he ever had to pay for it.
I don't think he ever had
Yeah,
to pay. I don't think
no.
he had to, but they did get one.
Yeah.
And then
so-
there was lots of stories with football and Joe Lepore too, driving the bus.
The
and
old
the
dog,
van.
the bus?
Yes.
They bought it from the Utah Parks Company.
Company, yes.
And it was on its last leg when they
When
got
you
it.
got it.
So they got all the football team on the bus.
Yeah. I remember that
And
one
one
too.
year we were traveling to Adams State, and this might have been before Ben got here.
I
'cause
think it was. I think it was
Scott
the,
Burns was the quarterback. He was a freshman from Cedar High.
Yeah, because when we came, Scott was still a
And he was 4
quarterback.
years, so he was still there.
Yes.
But his first game was in Adams State in Alamosa, and it was great weather, and the bus broke down out in the desert. And Joe Lepore,
Wired it together.
bless his heart, he figured it out. He got down and fiddled around and pulled some wires, put them together, and it started again.
And it started again.
So then we drove,
Yeah,
but we got to
yeah.
Alamosa at 1 o'clock in the morning after that. And the game was at 1 o'clock the next day.
Oh my goodness.
And so needless to say,
Oh yeah.
it was a baptism for Scott Burns because the final score was 44-0. I shouldn't even say that. I mean, but Alamosa, Adams State was one of the best teams.
One of the good teams.
in
I
the Rocky
remember
Mountain
Ben was
Conference.
saying one time they went for a basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and they were much out of their league, and he was sitting on the bench, and even the cheerleaders weren't cheering anymore. 'Cause we were being beaten. We lost so bad that game. Yeah, lots of fun stories. Lots of fun stories. Lots of time on the road, though.
Yeah, and Ricky would always tell me too. He'd say, "Art, you got to quit calling it the old RMAC. But that's what it was for us. And it's still a conference today.
Is it still a
with
conference?
Mostly Colorado schools now.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, I think Southern Colorado's still in it,
Is-
you know.
Yeah, because I still have things of Ben's at home that say RMAC.
Yeah.
I still have
And
things.
then when
so,
we
yeah.
moved, we went to the football conference.
Well, you've been in so many conferences and so many leagues.
What was it? The Western States Conference, and it was mostly California schools.
Uh-huh.
And
Now
then-
you're back into all these
Yeah.
Texas schools, but now you're going to go back into the big sky, so that'd be good.
And that's a great thing. And if Ben was alive, he'd go, "Wow, it's about time."
It's about
we
time.
Should have never
we
left.
should never have left. Yes, we should never have left.
But these
We-
kids have had some experiences all over Texas that they probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have had
Well, that's true.
without being in the
That's
WAC.
true. But when we were at Weber, we were in the big sky.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so that was like coming home to get Ben again because we were in the big sky then. So that was good.
We had a great time together.
Lots of fun times.
And we had a few peanut butter sandwiches too, because the per diem wasn't quite what you needed.
Well, when
go
he
eat at
coached,
yeah.
when Ben was coaching both teams, the girls and the boys, one time we didn't have enough money for meals. And so we went to the grocery store and we bought all the stuff for sandwiches. And we went to a park on the way home, and that's what we
Yeah.
had. And the kids were happy with it. They were
Yeah.
okay with it. They understood. We'd go to the grocery store and talk to whoever was produce and say, "Can we get a box of oranges to take on a road trip with us?"
Yeah.
Because the kids and I traveled with Ben because I only was teaching half-day kindergarten. So I would be able to travel and the kids would just come along with me. So it was always fun to go on track trips.
Right. And I remember having picnics in Nephi at the park and Richfield at the park. And one year, Jack Bishop knew Long was the man's name, and he had the motel there across from the park.
From the park?
And we had a breakfast in there or a lunch. We left Cedar, went to Richfield, and then stopped there and had a really good meal.
In the
and
park.
then we went across the desert to wherever we were going.
We were going.
Probably Fort Lewis or Western State or.
I remember one time we went, the twins were little, so it was probably the first, they were still babies and it was basketball. And we went to Flagstaff and we stopped at Marble Canyon and they had sack lunches
That's
for
what they
us.
did.
And we were there at the, you know.
And they all threw rocks into the Colorado
Into the
River
Colorado River, yeah.
to see if they could get it over the
Over the
and
big
into the
rock
river.
and into it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, kids had a great time, and a lot of those would probably remember. And we drove through all of New Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, on all the reservations.
Oh, yes.
And there was a place called T-Snow's Post or something, and we decided that we would have a 50 or a 25-year reunion.
And go there.
And go there, but we never did it.
You never did it.
Because all the players scattered, you know. Yeah. And when they come back, it's fun to see them.
To see him,
So,
yes.
Ben, tell us about Ben. He went on a river trip.
When he
in
passed
2020.
away?
Yeah.
You know, when I was teaching school at North Elementary, Eric Kermeyer was the resource teacher, and he lived in our neighborhood, and we carpooled, and we were always good friends. And when I retired, and he started bugging Ben, come and do these things with us. So Ben was still teaching, and they would go snowshoeing, they would go hiking, they would go rappelling. They did all of these things, and there was a group of them.
Yeah.
And then when Ben retired, he did a little bit more with them. And so he had gone with them before down, I don't know where it was, and he didn't really want to go on this trip because the last trip, the farmers had taken the water out of the river and there wasn't enough water, and he bruised his tailbone because he, as skinny as he was the heavyweight in the group, and he drug bottom. So
was holding down the boat.
he was, and they had their own little rafts. Each of them had their raft. And so he was like, I don't want to go again. And I was the one that encouraged him to go. I said, it's earlier in the year. Eric said they haven't taken the water out of the river yet.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was COVID, and I think he just needed to get away.
Yeah.
Because James was teaching school and had 4 kids at home all on computers, and so every Wednesday we had his 2 younger kids at our house
Right.
to teach them. And so I said, why don't you go? You know, it's COVID, you can't do anything, you've been out hiking a little bit. So on Thursday we went to the grocery store to get his food. And he packed up everything. I remember in the garage making sure his raft would work and everything, because it was just a blow-up thing. And he packed his raft, he had his bag, his 40-pound pack, and I said, you'll have a fun time. And away they went. There was 6 of them in the group.
Yeah.
And they, I know they had lunch at in Escalante, and then they took the truck over to where they left a
The
vehicle.
base of the Boulder Mountains. Yeah.
And then they came back, and they went out. He told me they were going down Turtle Road. He said, if we don't, you know, get lost or something, you know we're on Turtle Road, dirt road out of Escalante. And that's where his truck was left. And so they went for 6 days. And the pictures they sent back were absolutely gorgeous. I have one where he's standing by the creek, and it's his reflection in the water, and it's a canyon on both sides. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then he helped a lady across the creek at their last, you know, the last little creek they had to cross, and they started hiking up, and he collapsed. They thought he just fell, but he had died. And
That's
it
crazy,
it was just crazy. Yeah, just crazy. But the interesting story is that they had to hike out to get service in order to let him know that what had happened. And a helicopter came out of Page, and they were all worried because they didn't know where this helicopter pilot was going to land, because it was a little ways out of the canyon. And I have pictures of the helicopter circling, and finally they were able to land. And they were like, they didn't have another call, so they were able to take Ben's body. Otherwise they wouldn't have been able to, because they only come to do rescue, to save somebody.
Yeah.
And so the pilot, one of the pilots was a friend of a neighbor's. And after they took Ben's body to Kanab and then up to the state examiner's office and then home, my friend got in touch with me, and she said, do you want to meet the pilot? And
cool.
I said, yeah, okay. So he came to our house and met with Jennifer and Phil and James and Matthew and I, and they got the call, and they left Page, and they were worried where they were going to land. But he was an ex-Marine, and he'd gone to a Bible college and was kind of a minister. And he said we had to land to save him. And then when we got there, it was like, oh, we can't.
Yeah.
And he told me he just cried because he as a Marine, his job was to save people.
I know, that's true.
And it really was touching that he wasn't able to save Ben's life. But it was so fun to visit with him and to know that, you know, he was there, somebody that was Baptist, because Ben was Baptist, and they all gathered around and prayed and lifted his body up, and they even took his pack. The guy said, will you take his pack, because we can't carry it out either. So they did. So it was a shock. It was a shock.
It was. 2020 was the year, wasn't it?
Yes, 2020, May 20 of 2020. And everybody was afraid for me because they kept thinking she's going to crash. And I was the one that had to be strong for everybody.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
true.
I was.
That was a day.
I
and then
know.
the funeral was great.
And it was. And
I got to talk to Hal for a long time.
long time.
Over
and
at the church there.
yeah, and Mindy Benson was the one that called me and said, Cindy, what building on campus do you want? And I said, well, it has to be the PE building, of course, you know? And they just took care of everything. We didn't do anything. Mindy's event crew, they did everything, and it was a beautiful funeral.
It was.
I told her, I says, too bad this isn't one of Dr. Lunton Ben's events, like a dinner or something instead of his funeral. But it was good. It was a beautiful.
It was a good funeral.
It was, and you spoke.
I was honored that you actually asked me to speak.
I said you
and
have
it was fun too. You know?
You have to. You're part of our life.
We were such good friends.
You were good friends, definitely
So
good
now
friends.
I want to talk a little bit about your charity work, but the quilting you do is amazing.
Okay.
And was it Sydney Nacken that called
Yeah,
me and said,
Sydney.
we want you to do a quilt to put in the
For the
LDS temple.
And I told her, I said, Sydney, are you crazy? We're Catholic ladies making a quilt for your temple. And she goes, sure, yes, we do. We want you. And so I got with Sydney, and we went and picked out the fabric and everything. And she said, whatever pattern you want, as long as she was okay with the fabric for the quilt and stuff. And so we made the quilt. And then we were able to go through the temple. We were the quilting ladies, and it was kind of an honor, really, to go through the temple. And we went through with Rick and Rochelle Lunt.
Did you? Okay.
And like most of the tours were like 30 minutes. Ours was an hour. I mean, we asked all kinds of questions because we're not LDS, and they pointed out all
the
these things in
rooms
the temple, and it was just so special. And she says, you'll probably never see your quilt, but it's here in case they ever need the quilt. So it was a real honor. It really was a nice honor. And Anne-Marie Rigby? She was the one that did the story for us and came to my house and took our pictures working on the quilt. And, and it was in, your church did I think it was like maybe weekly report on how the temple was coming. And so there was a story in that paper about our group making the quilt.
Oh, that was great.
So, and then I retired 20 years ago and joined a quilting group. So I have been doing quilting for the last 20 years.
But you work with Eric Hoole's wife, don't you, on some of the Catholic charities around here?
She helps because she has a long arm, so she quilts. But in 1995, our church started St. Martha's Baby Basket Project.
Okay.
Marty Kravitz started it, and Dr. Tinas was helping her with the nurses at the hospital to give baskets to the moms that are in need. They need a little bit of extra help. And so Marty did it for 14 years, and then I took over in 2009. So I have done it for 16 years. So last year was our 30th anniversary, and we've given out over 1,200 baskets, I think, to the hospital. And it's a laundry basket with a quilt and all filled with lots of goodies for moms and their baby at the hospital. And every now and then you'll run into a mom that has your basket, that had a basket of yours, or they'll say something to you. I was at Walmart and I was buying 0 to 3 clothes, and the girl said to me, she said, "You have a lot of grandkids the same size?" And I go, "No, it's a charity." And I talked to her a little bit, and she said, "Oh, I got one of your baskets." So I said, well, could you use everything in the basket? And she said, "Oh, yes." So when we rang up, I went around and I said, "Can I give you a hug?" And we both hugged, and the tears just flowed.
That's great. Yeah.
So it's a full-time job. It keeps me busy, because last year we did 68 baskets to the hospital.
Oh, that's great.
So that's a lot of baskets.
And you make a lot of quilts, too.
I do. I make a lot of quilts.
Did you go to Flagstaff or out to, what is it, out by Grand Canyon?
Oh, I'm going there
retreat?
next week.
Okay,
In 2 weeks, I'm
up.
going. Yes, it's so fun to go to the Jacobs Lake Quilt Retreat. Yeah.
Well, Jacobs Lake is
It's
a beautiful
beautiful.
place. And unless you're there in the snow, we've driven through on the bus.
Oh.
When Jerry Dyer was the quarterback. And he was not happy with it. We were driving down that road with snow everywhere on our way to play NAU. I can't remember. Well, we were probably going to western New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
We went through there, and then
you went down to
down the bottom of Page and the
yeah.
Flagstaff, and then across Holbrook
and then across
all
to
that.
Holbrook and that way. Yeah, it's a fun place to go. The last 2 years we haven't had much snow, and we were really worried because of the fire one year, and then they had the fire, the Grand Canyon fire last year, and so we were still able to go. It didn't bother Jacobs Lake.
Are they rebuilding the lodge at Grand Canyon?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't either.
I haven't heard. The road is open, but I haven't heard if they're
That was always
started.
such a great place to go
Oh.
in. And
Yes.
back in the day, they served great meals there,
Oh, I
too.
know. The first time I went to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon was in 1965. Our family was going to the New York World's Fair, and we went through the North Rim. And I can still remember that lodge, and I was like an 8th grader, and the waiters would come and bring the food, and they would do singing, and we stayed. I guess we stayed in one of the cabins. I don't remember for sure, but we stayed there and had dinner that night.
Yeah, they have great cabins there, too. Bryce Canyon does, too.
I've never
And
stayed
they-
at Bryce Canyon,
yeah.
but that's one of my favorite places to go to. And I like to go there in the winter with the snow. Not heavy snow, but just,
That's where Vicki and I worked in the
Oh,
summer
did you?
after I graduated, and she was there.
And she was there?
Yeah, we met each other there, but I knew her from here, but I didn't know her.
Oh, okay.
She was a Chi Sig, so I knew some of the girls. So when I saw her, I go, I know her, so I would talk to her.
Talk to her.
And then our first date was to Tommy's Pond over by, I don't even know where it is, over by Tropic. And we all piled into an old Mazda, and there were 4 of us in the back seat, or no, 6.
Oh,
And it was 3 guys, and the 3 girls sat on our laps, and the other 2 were in the front seat. And we were glad to get out when we got to Tommy's Pond, which was nothing.
it's kind of like Jacobs
And
Lake.
we had a picnic.
And you had a picnic.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, and Jacobs Lake, there isn't a lake there anymore either, so.
And we'll tell you that this is KSUU in Cedar City, 91.1. And it's 11 o'clock.
And it's.
But we have to talk about where you lived in Cedar when you first came back from, together. And it's by where McDonald's is now.
Yeah, it's on 200 North.
Yeah.
Yes, and so, when Ben moved to Cedar in '79, I stayed in Ogden, and they lived in Mason Lurvy moved with him as his assistant, as a student, and they lived in the dorm with the football players, and it was free. They paid their way, they paid their meals, and so when the football had to move out, he had to find a place for us to live. And so he found a house on 200 North, and he lived there the 2 months, September, October,
Before
and
you
most
got
of
there.
November. I'd come down on the weekends and everything, and we had a ghost in the house. And you could hear.
Listeners are not going to believe this story, but it's a great story.
It is a good story, and he would tell me about it, and then when I came, it was like, and it didn't happen all the time, but you could hear somebody walking down the hall, or you could hear somebody coming up the steps of the back door. Or one night, the person came over by Ben's side of the bed, and he woke up and was like, what's going on? There was nobody there, And this went on that whole year. And it wasn't frequent, but just, But when it was, it scared the heck out of you because you're like, what is going on? And so
What happened here?
And so the backyard was it went way back. It was as back as 2 lots on 900, and there was a big garden back there and a driveway. And the fella that built the house was a plumber, and so he had a shed out in the back that was his plumbing supply shed where he kept all of his plumbing supplies. Well, Ben kept his motorcycle in there. It had a dirt floor. It was just, and so there was a piece of wood across the front of the door because that's what the framework was, and he was always trying to get his motorcycle in and out. So he decided he was going to dig some dirt and pack it real good so he could get in and out of the storage shed. And so he was digging and everything, and he came into the house, and I remember I was in the kitchen, and he said to me, he goes, "You're not going to believe what I found." And I said, or what I dug up, and I said, "What did you dig up?" He goes, "A body." And I go, "A body?
A real body?
A real body?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah." He said, do you want to see it? And I go, oh, no, I don't want to see a body
Oh, you
out
didn't
there.
go see her, huh?
And he said, it's just her bone. It's just
Just the
bones.
bones, no,
It's
yeah.
just bones in a jacket. And I'm like, okay, so I walked out there and it was a lid, and so when he hit the shovel, it was a piece of wood, so he picked it up, and that's when he thought it was an animal, because it was fur, but when he tipped the shovel to see what kind of an animal it was a human skull. And that's when he came in to tell me, and I'm like, oh, okay, and he goes, oh no, go ahead and look, and I'm like, oh, okay, and it was. So he came in and called the police, and of course they came, and it was July 4th weekend. And so they had to have the police car park in our yard because it was the weekend, and the examiner from the state examiner's office couldn't come down until Tuesday. So they had to be there for like 3 days. And Ben used to say to me, you could pull a few weeds in the garden as long as you're here and everything. And so the police department kind of had an idea who it might be, but they couldn't touch anything until the examiner came. And it was so interesting to watch because they just took out little things at a time and they sifted it. They could see all the bones in the fingers, and they took off the jacket and all the bones in the arm came out. I watched a little now and then, but of course we had the twins, so. But then they realized that it was a girl named Phyllis because she had a P on her jacket, and her family lived over on 900. She had problems with her mom and dad, so she came to live with her aunt and uncle, and it was her and her boyfriend that walked over to McDonald's, and she never came home, and he never came back either. And so I would sit in the house in the middle of the night with the back door open, the screen locked, and I'd be nursing one of the babies and thinking like, this guy's gonna come back and get us. Because
I think he was long gone.
he was, but I kept thinking like, for all these years, she was buried there for 5 or 6 years, I think it was, and he was scot-free, and I kept thinking like, he's going to come back and get me one night, and or something. I really was scared and everything. So in that September, after they found out who it was, they notified the family in Springville. And the mom and dad came down that September to see where she was. And it was just a 2 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot. It wasn't a very big. It was and when they went to court, he had to tell the jury what it was, and it was his carrot cellar where he kept his carrots. So she was stuffed in there pretty good, crammed in that box pretty good. But and we never, after Ben found the body, we never had the ghost come back again.
Well, there you have a testimony of the afterworld. Because here she was trying to tell you.
She was trying to tell us
come
that
and find my
come
body.
and find my body in the backyard, and he did, And we had just moved to Cedar like a year before, and all of our friends up north were like, "Oh my gosh, Ben, what's going on down there in Cedar City in your yard?" And then when we moved to the new house and we were digging the basement and everything, and people would give him a bad time and say, "Did you dig up any bodies?"
I remember when you told Vicki and I.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a great story. I mean,
it is.
But a shocking story.
It
and
really
then I was
was.
doing news at KSUV at the time, so I covered the story.
Oh, you
and
covered
the police thing in the court. And,
oh my goodness.
And I don't exactly remember everything that happened, but I think they were doing something, and she unexpectedly passed away.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't kill her. I mean, they were. They
I
were
don't
close,
know,
and he
I don't
loved
know
her.
what
I think.
happened.
And then I think he might have been convicted of involuntary manslaughter, and I didn't get all the details after that.
Yeah, and Ben only went the one day to talk about how he found the body, and the Jones man who built the house had to go the one day to say why it was, but. You know more about what happened afterwards than I do, because I didn't know for sure.
There was a court and a trial.
There was a court and trial over in Parowan.
And they had to find him, and he was in Las Vegas.
He was in
and they
Vegas.
brought him back.
And
And I don't remember what the jury decided, but anyway,
But he was
it
also
was an interesting story.
he was also wanted in Vegas, so he went.
Yeah.
They went back there for whatever trial that
Yeah.
was too. So
So apparently
Yeah.
he had had a rough life, and
yeah. So
But-
I'm just glad that we found it, and that was
Yeah.
closure for the mom and dad.
it was.
And they
that's
were so
great.
grateful to us
Yeah.
when they came that you found her, and they were able to have closure, a ceremony, and she's buried in Springville. Yeah.
And if he hadn't
Phyllis.
gone out there to dig that,
To dig that, she'd still
she
be
might
there.
still be, but not anymore though, because
Well,
they would have.
because now it's
What's
IHOP,
there? Yeah.
IHOP and Abbey Inn.
Mm-hmm.
So they, in their digging, they might have found it. You know,
Probably would have.
they might have found it. But
And that's really interesting.
that's a good story.
It is a good story. So, what are you going to do now?
What am I going to do now?
I know you're doing a lot, but do you have any plans to do more charity work? Or?
No, I'm still good. I'm still going to do with St. Martha's until for 20 years. I said I'd do it for 20 years. I also work in the thrift store on Thursdays, the Catholic thrift store, because I'm going to be 75 in May and our 50th anniversary. I want to have a big party this summer in my yard. And if my knee and hip will be okay, I might walk the El Camino later this summer too.
Okay. Well, that'd be fun.
That'd be fun, but
Yeah.
that first day is 16 miles.
I have another good memory.
Oh, okay.
We used to ride the bus back, and we were riding back on Wednesday, and it was Thanksgiving the next day. And so Ben wanted to be let out in Las Vegas.
Oh.
So your dad drove all the way out to the junction there of the
Nellis Air Force,
Nellis
where
Air Force.
Apex.
Yeah, and now there's all kinds of stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
But he was standing there, and the bus would pull over in the dirt. Ben got out, got his stuff, and then we went on our way. And I met your parents a couple of times at least, so
Yeah.
it was fun.
And there were times that he would take them on the bus,
Yeah.
and then they'd stop in Vegas, and my parents would pick them up. You know, you could do those things then.
Yeah.
And like I said, the kids and I traveled with football and basketball. Not all the time, but every now and then we would travel if it was to Flagstaff, and of course we traveled with Ben in track. But it was fun in the old days.
You probably know the bus driver, Sullivan. who
Sullivan,
drove- Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
He
he
was
was a good guy.
He was a good guy.
He was
too.
a good guy that drove the bus.
He had part or owned the Hong Kong Cafe in Milford.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He was talking to me about it, but anyway,
Oh.
that's a story for another time.
For another time.
Anyway, yeah, but so
Lots of good stories.
anything else you want to talk about, you tell me.
No, I just taught at North Elementary for 25
That's
years.
right.
The old North, the good North. And we were a wonderful family all those years, because nobody, you either retired or you died before somebody hired a new person to work there. Vicki worked there for
Vicky
6 months with
taught
me.
for Radmal.
Yeah, for
when she
Mrs.
passed
Radmo when
away.
she had the cancer. And
Yeah,
so
and she taught that whole,
Yeah.
all from December all the way till the end.
to the
I
end,
remember.
yes. And I was down the hallway that year, because I taught with Mrs. Radmo for 2 years before she passed. And it was just a family, and it was just so fun to teach at North Elementary. It was.
And now it's a huge thing.
And now it's that new school that, you
It's
know.
not the same, but yeah.
That's why I say I taught at the Old North.
The Old North.
The Old North, yeah. So.
I remember the North Elementary kids when they came to the junior high. And we
Oh.
were from South Elementary. And there was a little tiny
a little
rivalry or
rivalry
something,
there.
but some of those kids became great friends.
I know.
So
And
that's a
Cedar-
long time ago now.
That was a long time ago, yeah.
And Vegas, in '87 when I went to start my master's program at UNLV, the sign on the side of the road said Las Vegas in the elevation, which is nothing, and then 367,000 people
Oh, yeah.
in '87. And
In
now
'87,
it's like
and now it's
2.5
well, when I
million.
when I was in high school, there was only 4 high schools.
Yeah. And
And
now
then-
there's got to be
and now-
over 40 of them.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot more. Yeah. There's no reason to go back to Vegas now, because I have no family there. It's just a place that the shuttle takes me to the airport, and I fly out.
Yeah. When you go to Washington.
When I go to see Jennifer in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Well, Cindy, thanks
This
for
has been
being
fun,
with us.
Art. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you see, you didn't have to be
I
nervous
didn't have
at
to be
all.
nervous.
It was great.
but
Great to have
we have
you.
such a good friendship too.
And it was fun to talk about Ben, who's
It was.
been gone now almost 6 years now.
6 years. 6 years in May.
Who knew
And-
it would be 2026?
I know.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the days go
Yeah,
by fast.
they
Too
do.
fast. Too fast. Art, this has been fun. And I
Thank
love
you.
our friendship too.
I do too. And so does Vicki. Yeah.
I know, I love Vicki
know,
too.
we have
Because
it.
we would always do things together when you guys were on the road. And your oldest daughter would come
And
and tend.
we're
them.
going out to dinner Friday
And we're
night.
going out
And
for
to the
Friday. And
gymnastics.
gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yes, we still keep in touch.
All right.
I love
Well, Cindy Davidson, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Art. I love
On a
being
Time with
here.
Art, and that's our broadcast for today. So hopefully you'll be able to see it on YouTube coming up.